Hare Krishna. We welcome you all to the next episode of Glorification of His Holiness Gopal Krishna Goswami Maharaj. Today we have with us a very special guest who is His Grace Rishi Kumar Prabhuji. Rishi Kumar Prabhuji is a very dear disciple of Guru Maharaj. He joined Iskcon in year 2000 and received his initiation in year 2002. Prabhuji has worked previously with various media houses like Hindustan Times and Indian Express. Prabhuji belongs to a South Indian Brahmin family and he has a very strong command on chanting Vedic mantras in a very meticulous way. He is known for teaching Bhakti Shastras in a very simplified manner to the audience. He teaches Bhakti Shastras like Madhurya Kadambini, Jaiva Dharma, Shad Sandarbhas and Chaitanya Shikshamrit. He is also known for teaching various management courses in Iskcon like Iskcon Disciple Course, Teachers Training Course, Iskcon Resolves, etc. Prabhuji till 2024 has served as Vice President of Iskcon East of Kailash, Shri Radha Parthasarathi Mandir, which is at New Delhi, India. And now his services has expanded and now he is serving as the Zonal Supervisor for major part of Delhi, which includes East of Kailash, Dwarka, Faridabad, South Delhi, IIT, etc. Prabhuji had a very close association of Guru Maharaj in the last 23 years, where he stayed in the temple and observed Guru Maharaj very closely. So today we feel blessed to have him with us. So let us ask some of his memories with Guru Maharaj. Hare Krishna. Hare Krishna, Prabhuji.
Hare Krishna.
Thank you so much, Prabhuji, for your valuable time. Prabhuji, we would like to know, what was your first meeting with Guru Maharaj?
I connected to Iskcon the year 2000 in Mira Road. So I used to attend the Sunday feast program because I used to work outside and other programs as well. So Kamalochan Prabhu was the devotee who used to cultivate me a lot. Kamalochan Prabhu and His Holiness Bhakti Karunamaya Vanamali Swami Maharaj. They were both my Padapadashak Gurus. So on one of the weekends, Guru Maharaj had come and at that time I had this keda that I'll get initiated by Kamalochan Prabhu. I had no idea. Then somebody told me Kamalochan Prabhu's Guru is Sunas Gopal Krishna Goswami Maharaj and he is coming. So then Prabhuji took me to Maharaj and introduced me. And Maharaj asked me where I am working, what's the nature of work and all that. There was a brief meeting. After that I used to, when Guru Maharaj would come, I would go for the morning class as well because I used to work in Lower Parel and also in Nariman Point. And this is Mira Road, that is like almost 1 hour away. Plus taxi time, share taxi time, on train 1 hour. So I would stay back. When Guru Maharaj's lecture, I stayed back and I remember Guru Maharaj distinctly asking me, you have office today? So it was like that and nothing more significant in terms of interactions at that point of time. But when I shifted to Delhi in the year 2001 on my work, the only person I knew in Delhi was Guru Maharaj. So then we started interacting more and more and that's how it happened. The first meeting was primarily after a Sunday feast program and I was, there's one Mataji who wanted to, as I say, number banana chahti thi. She never used to chant, but she used to say, oh, Maharaj will ask me how many rounds I am chanting. So I thought she must be some important person. And then I told Guru Maharaj that Mataji is worried that you will ask her about your japa. So Maharaj didn't even pay heed to me and her both. So then I understood that there are many people who want to hang around with the rich and famous, as they say. So it's like that. But in general, Maharaj was always coming across as somebody very, very pleasant to deal with. And one of the earlier meetings I remember also was when his own godbrother, Sridhar Swami Maharaj, came and he literally hugged him. And he was wearing a cap saying Prabhupada's dog. So that I have as a very vivid memory. So both of them. I mean, Sridhar Maharaj had that cap and I could see the kind of exchanges they had. So when senior Vaishnavas have these kind of exchanges, it inspires you. So these are some of the early memories.
Yes. So Prabhuji, as we just now heard, you are coming from a good educational background. So how did you decide that, okay, I want to have Diksha from, His Holiness Gopal Krishna Goswami Maharaj?
I was working for a newspaper called the Indian Express. I was working as the brand manager for their business newspaper called Financial Express. And I stayed in Mira Road. It was a 5-day week, and I had a colleague who preached to me. So then I started taking interest in Iskcon, and Kamalochan Prabhu and Vanamali Maharaj, they took me under their wings and trained me a lot. There was also another senior devotee called Mahidhar Prabhu. He used to be Kamalochan Prabhu's classmate in IIT, Marine Engineering College. So these were big inspirational people. So right from the beginning, brahmacharis were the people I used to hang out with. There were some grahasthas whom I used to respect because some Malayali devotee, because I'm a Malayali, my parents are Tamilian. So I used to get inspired by and all that. But really speaking, it was the brahmacharis, and so always there was some inclination towards monastic kind of life. And Diksha was always in mind at that point of time. But then due to various circumstances in 2001, I had to enter householder life. And although my spiritual master did ask me at that point of time, I just knew him as Maharaj, and Maharaj is somebody very important and that I like him. So I didn't realize what is Guru's position. So when I told him that I'm getting engaged, Maharaj just put his hand on my back and said, "Can you wait?" And I said, "No, Maharaj, I'll preach to my family and all that." And Maharaj just smiled. And then I had to, after I got married, I went to Maharaj. I came to know more about initiation. Between the time I got engaged and I got married, for some reasons I started getting serious because I was made president of Iskcon Youth Forum in Delhi. And Mohan Prabhu was the director, under him I was serving. Rukmini Krishna Prabhu and I was president, he was vice president. But he's become very advanced now. And at that time, it so happened that this marriage thing happened, and then I approached Maharaj for Diksha. Then Maharaj personally told me, because you just recently got married, so please wait for some time. You can chant my pranam mantra. Maharaj personally told me, you can chant my pranam mantra. So at that time, Harisundar Prabhu wrote down the pranam mantra of Guru Maharaj and gave me. Fortunately, I cross-checked the spelling with Mohan Rupa Prabhu and got it corrected. And so that's how it happened, because already there was an idea of Diksha, because it was a logical progression. Maybe it is more fruitive, because you are a corporate, you want to progress at the ladder. At that time it was like that, but then gradually when I was associating with His Grace Mohan Rupa Prabhu, because like I said, Guru Maharaj was the only person I knew in Delhi, but Kamalochan Prabhu had given a letter to Mohan Rupa Prabhu, and Mohan Rupa Prabhu immediately asked me to start taking classes in IVF. That's how it happened. I first taught 14th chapter of Gita, Modes of Nature. I had not read the full Gita then, but some of the other image. So you're working in you have an educated setting and you work for corporate and all that. So that was encouraging. But when Maharaj, so this is how it happened regarding the initiation, because initially it was Kamalochan Prabhu, then gradually by association of His Grace Mohan Rupa Prabhu, I came to understand it is very important to get initiated. And so then I requested Maharaj and he asked me to wait. So in 2002 September, I got my Harinam initiation. That was on the same day as Gopeshwar Prabhu and Krishna Ganga Mataji. Same day we got initiated. So he is senior to me by a few letters.
Very nice, Prabhuji. Prabhuji, as you mentioned that you were working and you were managing so many stuff. So Prabhuji, what were the few initial services, like you mentioned you took class for IYF. So what were the few services which Guru Maharaj wanted you to do personally?
Guru Maharaj's first instruction for me technically was that you be with Mohan Rupa. So 2001 he told me that. I have followed that for 23 years now. He told that to me many times, this same instruction about being with Mohan Rupa Prabhu, and fortunately Mohan Rupa Prabhu has not yet rejected me, so I guess I'm still with him. But apart from that, yes, there was one thing he told me, and that really helped. This is one early instruction he gave. He said, you do youth preaching, he told me. He also told me to get my family introduced to Grahasthas. That was not an instruction I followed very well. On hindsight, I am very happy I did not. But in general, uh, this is he always wanted me to do. At that point of time, I was taking care of youth preaching, and he used to always tell me, "You do your best. You keep doing what you're doing." This is standard responses. And I used to chew his brain all the time, just generally go and barge in and sit, and he used to always give me time. Chipku, you say, like that. I guess that is what everybody was. Those days, Guru Maharaj was much healthier. I still remember him bending down in the altar and cleaning the floor himself. So those days, I still remember. But yeah, this was one thing about. You asked me primarily about this early instruction,
Yes.
right? So one thing was this, and then those days, Guru Maharaj used to walk in the temple precincts by himself many times. So I caught him near the area, where, the part where you step down from Garuji, you walk towards the plaza. And that area I offered obeisances. Somehow by then I had picked up this point. And I asked him that I want to get DTs for whatever reason. And Guru Maharaj told me, you keep coming. He didn't say about coming. You just keep coming. Now on hindsight, I'm thinking that he told me not to take DTs because maybe he always wanted me to worship the DTs in the temple. Because I never took DTs. I never had DTs. But every day I go to the altar now. And I have DTs now because of that. Because they are the DTs. So I guess that was the other instruction I remember coming from Guru Maharaj, that you just keep coming. And I kept coming, and I used to come regularly. I used to come every day practically. I used to come for Mangalarati even when I was working, most days. That obviously started the friction at home. So these are the early instructions. Be with Mohan Rupa, do youth preaching, keep doing what you're doing, do what is practical. He also said that introduce family to process. He also said use your abilities in Krishna service. And at that time, I also many times I used to, when I used to get in trouble with family, I used to lie. So the family that I'm going somewhere else and I would be in the temple. So I used to hide my dhoti kurta in the car, and I had to wipe off my tilak when I used to go home and all that. So I asked Guru Maharaj once that, is it okay to lie for Krishna? Is it okay to lie to family? And he said, you can lie, but only for Krishna. So that also I remember. Several few things, but these are some of the standout things.
As you mentioned about DTs, and we know how much Guru Maharaj loves DTs. We have seen you many times with Guru Maharaj during Mangala Arati. So some key observations from the life of Guru Maharaj, what he taught you, what you have observed from his dealings with deities, if you could please share that.
The first thing he taught me personally was that I used to do achaman, full achaman, but I was not always washing my feet next to Gaurnatha altar. In East of Kailash, we have a tap. It didn't quite strike me. But Guru Maharaj would tell me, when he saw me once, and then when I went there, he said, did you wash your feet? He asked me. And then I've seen that till 2024, when he was coming to Mangalarati, till the month of April, when he was coming to the altar, March, April, I don't exactly remember. He would get his feet washed and do achaman. And he would keep cleaning his hands multiple times. He would not touch the phone. He would get devotees to put it on loudspeaker and speak. He would not touch anything. And even when he was struggling to stand and so on and so forth, he would stand there next to the tap and devotees would take water and sprinkle on his feet. Extraordinary. So these are some things. Then the other thing is that as he was getting older and weaker possibly, one thing he would still do always was, after the arati, I would know immediately, when Chamar is getting over, I would immediately get the cleaning cloth for him and keep it on the table. He would invariably clean the table. Till the very end he used to do that. And at times when he was healthier, he used to go and wash that cloth again and keep it there also. So that is exemplary. And he would check multiple times saying, am I going too fast? Am I going too fast? Because he will be mostly a Gauranitai in Delhi. be following Radha Prasad, the Pujari. So he would keep checking. So, am I going too fast? And saying, once I came to know when I was doing Radha Prasad, the altar arti, and there are multiple deities there. So, sometimes you get stuck, you go slow. So, Guru Maharaj was telling the devotee who was assisting him at that point of time, he's so slow. So, he was saying. And Guru Maharaj was very particular because once I told him that he said the Punjabi Bagh is 22 minutes, some place there are 22 minutes. But he immediately said, well, Vrindavan is 25 minutes, Mayapur is 25 minutes. So we have 25 minutes in east of Kailash for the full Aarati. So Guru Maharaj would go fast, and then when it comes to Chamar and Morpang, he would do a little longer. He used to relish doing that. I'm sure he used to relish many other things also. But this, and like I said, cleaning was a big obsession for him. He used to clean. I still remember the times when I was not a Brahmin, but by birth anyway, nobody is a Brahmin. So he used to bend down and, like I said earlier, clean the whole floor himself. So meticulous when it used to come to the cleanliness part of it, and super punctual when it comes to the altar. Later on, things became, his health got affected is one thing. And when he would come, suppose I had already started Aarati, he would say, you continue, you complete what you are doing, then I will come next. So he will come and wait sometime. He won't even come into the altar, or come into the altar, he will wait behind the Gauranath deities. So very, very particular about etiquette also in the altar. He would respect the pujari, even if he is his disciple. I remember once there was one devotee who was completely messing up. He would rarely come to the altar. So he was assisting Maharaj in a bad way, according to me. At the end of the Aarati, Guru Maharaj told him, thank you very much, you did a very good job, he told him. So he would never get discouraged because I am a compulsive fault finder. So I said, it's not the issue. Guru Maharaj should do is there, all that. So that's again something stand out. And once I took a managerial decision which had affected a very senior devotee. The moment Guru Maharaj came to know of it, that day I was supposed to assist him. He said, no, let him assist, he said, some other devotee. I could not assist Guru Maharaj that day. I learnt my lesson that day. So he is very, very particular about so many other things. And I don't, one of the reasons I don't get too much into, I don't have much masala with Guru Maharaj. I have a lot of work-related stuff, some exchanges, but there is not one thing that you can fix on. You cannot have a specific answer about Guru Maharaj. There is so much. He was oceanic. Everything about him was oceanic. Yeah.
As you mentioned, Guru Maharaj was so particular about etiquettes, cleanliness, etc. So, if some instances you could recall about the Vaishnav etiquettes Guru Maharaj personally followed and you have observed, dealing with his god brothers, dealing with his disciples, were Vaishnav etiquettes.
Yeah. One thing is that any senior god brother would come. The days Guru Maharaj used to be physically more active, he would, after the altar, he would come down personally to the temple hall and go speak with them. And later on, during Guru Puja, if he would meet, he would check with them and invariably check with them about their accommodation, about their prasadam, about any other requirement, and he would check with 10 people. Who's taking care of so and so? He would check with me, he would check with Sadhurdev Prabhu, and he knows Sadhurdev Prabhu is in charge of hospitality. He would check with him also, he would check with me, who's taking care, somebody got to take care. So he was very particular about caring for them, and not just even his god brothers and others, any guest. And invariably, if they come, he will give priority to them for lectures. And he would call them and personally have prasadam with them. It happened that it was so many years. He used to invariably do that. And so this was very, very particular. And then he would also ensure that that particular devotee would have a preaching engagement in the rest of Delhi NCR. And he would ensure that some of us would go and show them around the project, the entire project of Iskcon Delhi, Radha Prasad temple, and also sometimes take them around to other temples. So these are all very, very, he used to be very, very particular about that. Not just about even God brothers and GBCs and others. And sometimes when senior devotees would come, because normally during Bhagavatam class time was the time he used to do his japa walk many times. From the altar he would go do Gauranath service for his own deities. Then he would do japa walk. Then during the puja he would make somebody read for him. So Prabhupada books, so reading 1 hour is done, japa is done. By 9 o'clock, Guru Maharaj's reading and chanting is completed. And he's also walked because the doctors have told him. And this is a body which is used in Prabhupada's service. And when he would start doing yoga, he would make somebody play Prabhupada's lecture. So, totally uncompromising. But if some senior devotee would come, he would ensure that he would sit in their class and would work his schedule around accordingly. And Prabhupada's lecture, if he was in the temple, he would invariably come and sit in Prabhupada's lecture. So, uncompromising in his sadhana. And even at night, he would many times read some books in case he had not been able to finish reading. He would look at the photographs of all the deities in the temples that he used to serve. So his routine was totally Krishna conscious, and because of which he used to always invariably follow Vaishnava etiquette, because his Krishna consciousness was so mature and so condensed. He would have prasadam, he would inquire about the whereabouts, and in so many people have told. One of his god sisters, Yamunamai Mataji in Vrindavan, she said when she was in hospital, he was the first person to go and check how she is. Then so many cases. I remember another Vaishnava etiquette thing. My preaching partner, Sachipriya Gaur Prabhu, whom I know for about 7-8 years now, he's a Grihastha, chartered accountant, a qualified person. He was being operated for cancer of the prostate. And I spoke with him on phone. So Guru Maharaj checked with me saying, has any of you visited Sachipriya? And I was so embarrassed. We are supposed to do it and he is telling us that you have to do it. Till that is okay. My best friend was having a surgery. One of my best friends was having a surgery. So I told Guru Maharaj very smartly that Maharaj is having a surgery. Did he get a chance to speak with him? So he said his surgery is already over. And I had no idea. So you can see how pakka he is. He ensures that he sees things to the end. One of his complaints about management in our temple, and me in particular, was that he said, you don't close things. So we'd keep things hanging. So he was very particular, very important lessons about Vaishnava etiquette. There was one disciple of his, a Mataji, who was a big troublemaker for many of us. So eventually she committed an offense against a senior devotee and we had to bar her entry into the temple, unfortunately. Guru Maharaj is so merciful that he checked with us about her also. How is she doing? I'd like her to come. And for some reasons, because of that, we had stopped Mataji's cooking for Guru Maharaj. We introduced brahmacharya assistants completely for him. We have some excellent brahmacharya cooks. But later on, Guru Maharaj, because all the Matajis were anxious and feeling separation, Guru Maharaj obliged and allowed them to start cooking for him also. So he would keep everybody's needs, interests and concerns in mind. And Dharma Stapana Hetu Sadhur Vyavahar. So he was setting an example by his behavior, how Dharma should be followed. And that is end to end for all Vaishnava etiquette dealings for him. I don't know whether I answered you sufficiently.
Yes. Prabhuji, as we discussed about Vaishnava etiquettes, so probably when we are in management, it becomes very difficult to follow this culture of Vaishnava etiquettes. But जैसे आप भी इतने टाइम मैनेजमेंट में रहे हैं, so how Guru Maharaj used to handle the management issues, and what was his mood when he used to be in meetings, etc.
So I'll give you 2-3 shibboleths or slogans that Guru Maharaj used to. The last 2-3 years I used to hear from him. One thing he told was that one important principle in life is to make people feel wanted. So Guru Maharaj was very particular that everybody in management, they would have their space and they would get an engagement. He would never take a step which would deprive a devotee of service altogether. So that is one critical aspect of his managerial personality. Secondly, he told me once that one should be uncompromising in principle but diplomatic in presentation. But when you say diplomatic, it is not kutinati. You say diplomatic, it means satyam bruyat, priyam bruyat. Present it in a manner that is palatable. But at the same time, one should be uncompromising in principle. So that was something that I particularly remember. Another thing he told me was, when I was there, Mohan Prabhu was there, he told us that in management there are three types of people you have to deal with. Those who are easy to deal with, those who are difficult to deal with, and those who are very difficult to deal with. So, and he was adept at all this because he was, externally speaking, he was a micromanager. You would look at, go down to the detail, roll up the sleeves and do all that. But what I could see was, here was a person who believes in, he has so much love for Krishna that he has got so much attention to detail. So if you give some project to me, he would give me some task. First of all, he would tell me that, I'm so sorry, I'm burdening you with all this. Just tell me once. Sometimes he would tell me, he would call on the phone and say, Rishi Kumar, are you free? You have 5 minutes? Can you come up? It was never, he would never throw his rank at you. I remember I gave a lecture once in Gurugram in 2009. And this was the sloka about Striyo Vaishyas Tata Shudra Tepe Antiparam Gati. So I let it go. Talk about how women are less intelligent and all that. My understanding at that point of time. So Guru Maharaj just looked at me and said, have you ever heard me speak anything like this? So he said, no. I said, why are you doing it? So at another point of time, there was a devotee who, very important devotee, very intelligent and qualified and performing important services. So he had some difficulty because I think somebody complained, and somebody and his wife complained that he was giving too much attention to her or something like that. So Guru Maharaj called that person and told him that one of the important members of our congregation thinks that you are doing such and such. And then towards the end, he told that person that you have to be very careful. We don't want to stop people from coming to the temple. Now, if that person is a responsible manager, naturally he will feel, yes, as a manager we have to ensure that this work gets done. At the same time, he protected that person's integrity and his self-esteem also. He did not make him feel insulted. On another occasion, one devotee had committed a serious, grievous offense, and he begged forgiveness because he is Guru Maharaj's disciple. So Guru Maharaj looked at him. He was literally on his knees. Guru Maharaj looked at him and said, I forgive you, but don't repeat it. So this is uncompromising in principle, but diplomatic in presentation. Once I remember His Holiness Krishna Kshetra Maharaj coming, and he's much junior to Guru Maharaj, although he's a god brother. And Guru Maharaj, despite his sickness and everything, again he was insisting on reciprocating the pranam. Even people who are much junior to him, but who are god brothers, he would offer obeisances, even when he was not much well. This was his Vaishnava etiquette was a key to his dealings in management as well. So many times I am told that Guru Maharaj's management interventions used to happen in between meetings, not during meetings. So before the meeting and after the meeting, he would ensure that he would speak with the people concerned, bring them all on the same page, and so that in the meeting there is no halla ulla. One of the most important crises that we have faced in Iskcon history is in some few years back at Sri Mayapur, and His Grace Dayaram Prabhu was actively involved in that conflict resolution also. And Dayaram Prabhu said that Gopal Krishna Maharaj was never the most active GBC for Mayapur, but when the crisis came, he was a person who was there till the very end, till everything was resolved, and before he checked with me, Do you need me? I can come back or I can be here. If everything is over, shall I go? Please let me know. So this ownership, sense of ownership, is another reason he was able to face challenges in management uh, along with this etiquette. Uh, he would call senior devotees into group meetings and there would be major crisis. People would be shouting at each other. But before Guru Maharaj, none of them would be able to shout because he was so sweet. Once I remember I was in a meeting and I was completely getting frustrated about something. He said something, you can deal with them and they'll. I just said, no Guru Maharaj, nothing will work out, nothing is going to happen. Nothing is going to happen. So Guru Maharaj just smiled and said, I think you're in passion. And I said, sorry Guru Maharaj. Instantly he would cut. The sweetness of the dealing would ensure that it would happen. And even in extreme crisis, sometimes I'm told, in bureau meetings and other places, some serious issue happened and it became really too much. Actually, Guru Maharaj cried because he did not want to take an aggressive stance. Because he's so merciful, so compassionate. Because he's looking at the person not just as a manager, he's not looking at him just for this birth, he's looking at his Krishna consciousness. I know people who have committed grievous offenses and Guru Maharaj would forgive them just like that. But for the sake of managerial etiquette, he would rehabilitate them. So that is one way his Vaishnava etiquette would help in handling serious crises in management. There was another one temple in South India where there was a major crisis, not his own. So Guru Maharaj as chairman of the bureau went and I was part of the team that was involved in some of the tasks in that center. So you had a whole hall full of militant congregation who were against certain decision of certain managers. And Guru Maharaj was dealing with them as if nothing has happened. In a very casually, friendly way. And naturally, because of his sweetness of his dealings and his purity, a lot of his work used to get done. In simple language, अपने purity का नाजायज फायदा उठाते थे. So
purity is the
they had
first.
nothing. They couldn't. What can you say to this person? Serious crisis. They are coming to. I want to speak with them. How can you stop me from meeting Maharaj? He said. So Maharaj just told me, you tell them that I will meet them at 4 o'clock. He wanted rest. So I was standing outside like, Jaya Vijaya and saying, only me. So saying that, no, Maharaj will meet you only. How can he has to meet us. Maharaj opened the door and said, no, I will meet you now. I was wondering, what courage. And all these qualities, they manifest because of his Krishna consciousness. Krishnaika Sharanam, he was completely surrendered. Because he wanted Srila Prabhupada's movement to be protected at all costs. I still remember, and I want to conclude this part with this answer, that I was in a room with him, and this I have shared in many places. I was in a room with him and I was getting very sentimental. Sometimes disciples get too hagiographic or adulatory about their Guru. So I said, Guru Maharaj, please bless me that I please you always. So there was nobody in the room. Guru Maharaj could have said anything. He could have said, he could have placed his hand on my head, he could have placed his lotus feet on my head, he could have said, yes, pleasing the spiritual master is the fundamental basis of spiritual life. He could have said any of this. But without batting an eyelid, there was nobody in the room. He says, don't try to please me, try to please Prabhupada. And therein lies Guru Maharaj's success in management, Guru Maharaj's success in maintaining Vaishnava etiquette while handling the toughest of crises in management, dealing with the toughest of people in management. He always wanted to please Prabhupada. That's the basis of it.
Prabhupada man. Go. Prabhuji, as we discussed about Mayapur crisis, so Prabhuji, recently there was also Bangalore temple crisis which was happening. So Prabhuji, what was the mood of Guru Maharaj during this whole case? And as we mentioned in your introduction, ki Guru Maharaj personally gave you the seva of handling this Bangalore case. So What was the mood of Guru Maharaj? How he wanted to save this temple?
First thing is that uh, I have no background of Iskcon legal. Forget Iskcon legal. No background of legal services. Once couple of times I went to court when I was heading the Nagpur branch of Indian Express. My printer had filed a case against us or something like that. I still didn't understand what was going on. But then around 2011, when the Bangalore temple matter moved to the Supreme Court, 2011 June. May was the order in the High Court in our favor, and in June there was a status quo order filed by the Supreme Court, post which this matter got listed in the Supreme Court. So Guru Maharaj told me that you have to type, because I type very fast. I used to type very fast, and so Guru Maharaj said, Dharam Prabhu has a back pain, and you'll have to assist him, you have to type letters for him. So I said, fine. I must tell you that in the last 13 years, I have only typed 1 or 2 letters for Dharam Prabhu. I just got sucked into Iskcon legal. And although Dharam Prabhu is not happy with me, because he thinks I had not applied my mind and that I did not pay sufficient attention or I didn't put in my best efforts in legal. But for what it's worth, I have been his assistant. His mobile number still says Rishi, Delhi assistant. So I guess I'm his assistant for the last 13 years. So what Guru Maharaj used to do was that, first of all, whenever Dharam Prabhu would come, he would check, are you taking care of Dharam? First thing he would say. Are you taking care of Murali Sham, which is the other senior in the legal team? So these were the 2 people who did all the hard work. So I would say yes, and then Guru Maharaj would not be satisfied that when they would come, he would check, is Rishi Kumar taking good care of you? So first thing was, he was backing his people who were fighting the case. He gave a dedicated room to Dharam Prabhu. Those days it was a luxury in the Iskcon guest house, because rooms were not of the highest quality at the time, and to give the biggest room, so to say, for many days, sometimes many weeks, and couple of times many months to Dharam Prabhu. We had a dedicated phone line, fax line, computer, printer, all dedicated. Guru Maharaj personally ensured that all these things have to be done. About his diet, we had a personal cook arranged for him, because we would have to go to the court at different points of time. Guru Maharaj personally gave his own car for going to court hearings. This is in the early days of the Supreme Court case. Then the other thing was, as things progressed, when I started getting to have a little bit of hang of things, at least I knew what document to get for Dharam Prabhu. Earlier I would not even understand what is the document. I would not know what is in the document, but at least I would know what is the document. So that level of comfort level came in, and Guru Maharaj would also check with me that, so what happened in the case, what is happening. He would invariably check with me. He would invariably check with Dharam Prabhu, do you have enough money to pay the lawyers? He would again check who is our lawyer, which is a judge, which is a bench. He would ask all these details every time he would come for hearing. And when the mediation happened also, Maharaj was very, very actively involved with the Bangalore team. I remember in sometime in 2015 or something, I remember having a discussion, and Maharaj said, he took the name of the senior devotee from the other side, and he said, we are good friends. So then I could understand Guru Maharaj Ajata Shatru, even with people with whom we have such major conflict. And he would check with me what happened in the case in the morning. In the evening, when the case would be over, he would check what happened today. And not being satisfied with that, please make me speak with Dharam, he would say. He would check again with Dharam Prabhu whether this is what happened. Whenever there was need of funds, and litigation anywhere in the world is an expensive affair. So Guru Maharaj would personally, as they say, go with a begging bowl as the chairman of Iskcon India Bureau to all the various temples and pledge and take money for the bureau fees towards the Bangalore case. And many payments were pending from the bureau to the bureau from the various temples. So he would still, whenever the case would happen, personally call up temples to make them contribute for the payments. And even during the case, he would call many people who would suggest the way forward how to crack the case in any manner possible. So again, end-to-end ownership. Dhara Prabhu personally, and I've seen, he's a very, very logical person, not a sentimental person. So he said, when I was in Vrindavan, I did not feel anything. After Guru Maharaj left, he came here for glorifying Guru Maharaj also. He said, but when I woke up today in Delhi, I could not handle it. I cried. Dharam Prabhu is not a person who cries. So it just shows, because, and the big time relationship with Guru Maharaj and Dharam Prabhu is one of the significant reasons is the Bangalore case. And I told you there is a South Indian temple, there was a crisis. There again, Dharam Prabhu was involved. There again, Dharam Prabhu said that it has nothing to do with Maharaj. It's not his zone also, but he still took ownership. The Bangalore case is not his mistake. He has nothing to do with this. He has nothing to do with the zonal management of that area at any point of time. Anything that happened there, he is not responsible. He is not accountable also. But as chairman of Iskcon India Bureau, he felt Vasudeva Kudumbakam, like that, the whole, everything about Srila Prabhupada's society, it is his service to take care of. So this Bangalore case is a real case in point where he was involved in raising funds, in taking care of the devotees concerned, in taking care of the lawyer concerned, because somebody from our side had approached the lawyer with some different kind of proposal. And so the lawyer was very, very upset with us, with that person, not with us. Guru Maharaj personally went to the person and apologized. So, end-to-end ownership again. And it's for a project which is not even his own. He doesn't have to take ownership. So that is our Guru Maharaj. When it comes to the Bangalore matter, he had complete ownership. And he has told me many times, that I'm really anxious about this. He used to tell me, I'm really anxious about this. In between, there are also many incidents in this case, and Guru Maharaj was personally involved in them also. But he would always keep the interest of the society in mind. He was even willing to, one of his disciples was in the legal team and he made a mistake, not here, in Bombay. And Guru Maharaj always gave priority to what the bureau wanted as opposed to his own disciples. So that's the level of commitment he showed. I can't give you more details because the whole thing is...
not yet.
And it is, to conclude, one thing is that even when we wanted devotees to pray for the success of the case, Guru Maharaj personally got me to draft a message, confirmed it, and we posted the message. He was asking his disciples and everyone to chant for the success in this case. So to that extent...
completely dependent on prayers also. We can understand.
And also his effort. Guru Maharaj told in one of his lectures, and I quote this every third lecture I speak in. He said, work like everything depends on you. Pray like everything depends on Krishna. And he was a classic example of that.
Prabhuji, yes, we come to legal things. We'd like to know, you have been so close to Guru Maharaj, dealing with him almost on daily basis. So you must have received some chastisement from Guru Maharaj. So if you could remember some chastisement memories.
I remember once there was a case that happened. Two devotees, one devotee had filed a case against some of these seniors. And that case was happening, and I had not fully got into Iskcon legal at that point of time, somewhat. 2012 this was, and 12 I think, I'm not sure. So, I also, at this time we also had to, because I was serving prasadam in the prasadam hall at that time. Because I was twice a week or thrice a week we had to serve prasadam at that time. So, Guru Maharaj kept calling me and I didn't hear the phone. So we came back and Guru Maharaj said, Where were you? I've been calling you 100 times. Obviously, it's not 100 times. He said, it is not 100 times. He said, I said, Maharaj, I was serving prasadam. That anybody can do. This is important. So, prioritization. So that is one instance I clearly remember him saying. Another instance is, this I told you earlier, they say, you people don't close anything. Once he called me for something and I didn't hear because the mobile had no charge. He said, that's sloppy. He told me that's sloppy. Then once I was going with him to Dehradun, Dehradun, Rishikesh, I think, for which I had to go through Dehradun. I was flying in the flight and going to fly in the flight, and I made him wait in the airport for 35 minutes. So I don't even want to tell you what he said after that. So I got an earful. Then when I went with him for a second time, I had not shaved up. And I'm glad I shaved up today for this interview, because he would have been very upset otherwise. So I did not shave up, and then said, so he saw me so why haven't you shaved up? I just said, and then he said, that means you're a bad manager. That direct. Somebody who's been in the corporate world for so long, and he tells you only if you're a bad manager. And he's right. Because, he would never compromise on this. He would be very clear. He would be very well prepared for every meeting. These are some of the quick things, but there are many other things that I cannot share with you because they're all related to confidential institutional issues. Not that I am from Antaranga Bhakta. Some institutional issues, so I cannot be sharing all of them with you. When I remember something more, I will just tell you in between. But something that I can share, a lot of stuff I cannot share. But one thing is very clear that, he told me once that you people don't do anything, that's why I have to do everything. And that's a fact, because I was completely useless, and I am. So he would tell this invariably, that, because, and I remember this, that one senior devotee, Madan Mohan Prabhu, told me this from Russia. He's one of my mentors. He said, the worst thing a spiritual master can have is the feeling that I'm leaving behind a bunch of dependent neophytes. Now, I want to implore to everybody who's watching this podcast, and I implore myself and you, that we should not become dependent neophytes. Guru Maharaj has given everything in his instructions, in his life, his behavior, his dealings. We just have to ensure that in line with Srila Prabhupada's movement, we follow them. So, he's still chastising us, if only that we don't have the bandwidth, so to say, to hear him, because we are not at that level. When he was on the planet, we could not understand his instructions properly. What do we understand now? But it's clear that every time we are breaking a principle, every time we are not following authority, Iskcon authority, every time we think of leaving Iskcon, every time we feel disconnected or disgruntled in Krishna consciousness, please rest assured he is chastising us to get out of it. This may sound like a romantic notion, but I'm 100% convinced, because my spiritual master said that the disciple should always act in a way that the spiritual master is watching him. So I think the chastisement will increase now, because we don't have him to monitor us.
As you
in
said,
person.
Yes. As you said, spiritual master is always seeing us. So at the same time, when we receive chastisement, uske saath saath there is love also. So I'm sure you have spent so close 23 years with Guru Maharaj. So as you receive chastisement, you also received some loving exchanges with him. So if you remember some of the loving exchanges as a father he did, as a spiritual master he did personally for you.
I was in Vrindavan, and this is one of the vivid memories in Vrindavan that I have for him. That there was, those days I was in white. I was a temple devotee, but I was in white. There was an issue with visas for some devotees who were residents in the temple. So the temple president, Panchagoda Prabhu, wanted me to stay back and get the work done. So he said, you please come back and stay in Vrindavan. So because I was in white, he didn't realize that I was a temple brahmachari at that time, or vanaprasthi. So he said, you're okay? You want to take permission from your family? Check with your family? So I looked at Guru Maharaj and said, no, he's my family and he's okay. And then Guru Maharaj had this broad grin on his face. So for me, that is heaven. Secondly, on an Ekadashi, and for the last few years, I've been keeping Ekadashi as Sajala, not Nirjala, because my mind is disturbed otherwise. So I used to take only water on Ekadashis. So, because I saw that devotees were doing things for Jayapataka Maharaj for his health, I wanted to do something for Guru Maharaj. So he said that, so on Ekadashi, then he was sitting with one senior devotee and having prasadam, and then he gave me some prasadam. So I said, Guru Maharaj, is it okay if I take it tomorrow? Why, you doing Nirjala? I said, no, Guru Maharaj, Sajala, I just thought you had given me the name Rishi Kumar. I should do some austerity for the spiritual master. And he just looked at me and said, thank you. So I could feel confirmation that this austerity is being accepted by him. Because whatever sadhana we are doing is for the pleasure of spiritual master. So this is another dealing that I have. Then I remember that a mix of both chastisement and love. When I was about to leave my family, he would toy with my consciousness. He said, no, you cannot leave your family, that is sinful. So I said, but Maharaj, this is the thing. For 1 year, I had joined the temple in a different area of Delhi NCR. But I could not come to the Delhi temple because Guru Maharaj wouldn't allow me. He got me mentally trained to be fully into the temple before I joined. I was in transition, so to say. So he told me that time that I cannot spoon feed you, first thing. He also said I cannot babysit you. And he told me something very important. He said, I don't want you to leave your family, but I don't want you to drink poison either. And after a few years, on senior godbrother of Guru Maharaj, which is a sannyasi, told me that I should go and preach to my son in my previous ashram. Rather, he said he used to preach to his son in his previous ashram. So he said, you should go out also and preach to your family. So I asked my spiritual master, he's saying like this, so what do I do? So he asked, are you in touch with your family? I said, no, Guru Maharaj. Are you disturbed? I said, no, Guru Maharaj. So then he said, my advice would be that you try to become Krishna conscious first before you try to make others Krishna conscious. So it was very, very, very clear. I'm saying these are all many instances when it was so personal, without compromising on the principle. It was a mixture of love and chastisement as per the situation demands. And also, the one instance that I can think of is my fortunate parents. The year 2001, they came to Iskcon Delhi. The chance to meet Guru Maharaj in front of the auditorium. South Indians obviously have this kida that they are more Vedic and they know things more than these North Indians. So at least my parents had that notion. So they thought this is something weird and different, and Iskcon is North Indian. So Guru Maharaj just looked at them, smiled and said, Hare Krishna is for everyone. North Indians, South Indians, everybody can chant. So I still remember that, and I still therefore think there is some hope for my late father and mother, because they had darshan of a pure devotee for some time and they interacted with him. So this is again one of the loving dealings that I have, that I can remember. It happened right in front of me with my parents, and I'm grateful to him for that. I remember when I took my sister, my brother-in-law and my niece in Mayapur, he met them in the room. I took them to him, in the Mayapur Conch building lobby. He was standing in the morning. Again, I took them to him and made them offer obeisance. And Guru Maharaj specially went and spoke with my niece, and she's a non-believer. She's practically like an atheist. She's, weird, one of those terrible teens kind of person. And she still remembers Maharaj. So that's the sweetness of the dealings, this loving care. And he had no reason to waste his time on these people. He did it only because they're my family. See, if this is not love, then what is it? He's doing it because of me. He doesn't have to go through this trash. Speak with these people, newcomers. That's some of it.
As you mentioned about Mayapur, so any memories from Mayapur yatras, Mayapur parikramas with Guru Maharaj?
Main thing is, I remember Mayapur, I went for parikrama in 2009. I went for parikrama in 2010 partly. I was also in Mayapur service at that point of time. I was in Mayapur service in the sense I was supposed to be promoting the Mayapur project in Delhi for some time. So Guru Maharaj personally told me you should get matka silk. I used to wear white, and he said you should get matka silk. So I got matka silk. I had no idea what is matka silk. So he made me get matka silk, and I would invariably get the clothes pressed and wear it and all that. And because I'm so careless, I would sat in an auto rickshaw once, I kept my hand there and it all became grease. So that's the kind of trash he had to deal with, but which is me. So, but when I went in once in Mayapur, I went to him in 2010 and I said that Guru Maharaj, I have to go to parikrama also now, this service also, what should I do? Guru Maharaj just looked at me and said, you don't have to go to parikrama every year. And that was the last year I went for parikrama, I guess. After that, I could never even go to parikrama, leave alone having the desire most of the time. So he did not want us to get into this. And every time he would see me in Mayapur, he said, you are here. So who's there in the temple? And, just not that I am getting puffed up. He would ask that to most of the devotees. So everybody is here. Who's running the temple? Who's taking care of the temple? So he was an archetypal epitome of work now, samadhi later. Mm-hmm. And his samadhi was internal. You don't have to worry about it. So in Mayapur, this was his meditation. I remember that I had received I was handling a case of the Gurukul of some complaint against somebody. It was a child molestation case of somebody outside the Gurukul, not in the Gurukul. So that case had come up and everybody was aware of it, including the then GBC chairman, Anuttama Prabhu. But I wanted to do Iskcon Disciple course under Anuttama Prabhu. He was teaching it in Mayapur. So I arrived in Sridham Mayapur by a train, though one of those dangerous taxis I took, and I reached at something like 10:15, 10:30. One devotee, I think Ajit Govind Prabhu, had kept some prasadam for me. I took that late night, slept at around 11 o'clock, then got up for Mangalarati, and at around 6:30 I went to Guru Maharaj's quarters. First sentence, what are you doing here? You should be in Vrindavan. So then I saw Anuttama Prabhu, who was going to teach the course. He also said, what are you doing here? You should be in Vrindavan. So then went to Guru Maharaj and said, Guru Maharaj, do you want me to go back? Yeah, I think you should go back. So I came all the way from there to Mayapur, reached night at 11 o'clock, and Guru Maharaj is telling me at 7 o'clock you go back to Vrindavan. So it is both Mathura meets Vrindavan. So that day I took a cab at 9:30, 10, went back to Kolkata airport and flew. So this wishy-washy Dham Seva things don't appeal to him. Even if you are in Mayapur and Vrindavan, what is paramount is the service that you want to render.
Service is most important.
And Mayapur, and this pastime involves both Mayapur and Vrindavan. I wouldn't call pastime because Shastra says Leela is for Krishna. But Guru Maharaj himself won't like the word pastime. But this is one experience or incident that I have from his life.
Prabhuji, as you were telling, Guru Maharaj teaches by his own example how we should behave with people, how we should take care of them. Some instances, Guru Maharaj used to meet so senior people also who are materially very opulent. So, any instances where you have been with Guru Maharaj while meeting those people?
Yeah.
So, what was his mood, what was his consciousness while he used to meet them? And what he taught to his disciples in the future when they meet? What should be their consciousness when they meet them?
So the first thing is that he would ensure that we would always carry a very important spiritual gift. Those days we had Darshan book and Krishna art book and all that. He would invariably take it and he would make us write a good message on it. I remember going with him once and he just said that, so this is my secretary, he introduced me to that person. Although I was not a secretary, but he just introduced me. We took a big cake. He got somebody to bake, some Russian Mataji to bake it for that person. Big cake we took and went. And then he spoke. I did not understand what he was speaking, but anyway he spoke. At that time I was new to Iskcon dynamics. Then once another important person came, I think some high commissioner of a country, and he was amazing. He just got one Uzbek person, one Mauritian, one Russian, whatever, Canadian, 5-6 of these devotees plus some Indian devotees to come and lay down a platter in the VIP room, partly Govinda's, partly TT kitchen, and I read it. So, exemplary attention to detail in terms of the quality of things that we're giving that person. High class stuff made by devotees, and then he would introduce each person that, so and so, so and so. He's from this country, this country, this country. Once a chairman of a very big company came, and he is from originally from South India, so they have some basic cultural upbringing. In South India and the so-called Brahmin families, we are trained to offer Sashtanga Pranam to our elders. So he came and offered Sashtanga Pranam to Guru Maharaj. So Guru Maharaj immediately called for me. He said that, immediately said, so he is Rishi Kumar, he is from South India. And just so that connect is easier for them.
Ice-breaking.
It is a very good thing. In another case, he called me once because he is from the media. So he said, because I have a work experience of being in the media, he introduced me. These are some little things Guru Maharaj used to keep in mind. And when anybody would come, sometimes we have to hang on to Guru Maharaj when they come. So generally he would not be very happy that we are offering full pranams to him when the guest comes many times. He said, no, just be normal. And he said, don't just be with me, go take care of him, he would say. So we had to go escort that person, take that person outside and everything. The guest would always be paramount. These are some of the things that Guru Maharaj would be always particular about. And if he is going to address a gathering which involves some VIPs, he would invariably ask their name, take the details, and look at how to start the address, who is the senior most person, who should we speak first, what should be the address. So I speak first, or when do I speak? He would check. How much is the duration? He would check. Very particular about these sort of things. So this would ensure that often social dealings also he would not be violating any of the etiquettes. So thorough gentleman, like people would meet Prabhupada and go back saying he's a gentleman. Once there was one, but on the other hand he was uncompromising in principle also. He can speak the truth very sweetly. I heard this from two different devotees, one from Mohan Rupa Prabhu, that once he went to meet a big person. He is from the Jain community, and he was working, he owned a distillery. So if Guru Maharaj would speak things, and then Guru Maharaj asking, "Aap Jain hote hue sharab bechte ho?" So I did not have this personal experience, but I heard it from him, Mohan Rupa Prabhu, and I can imagine Guru Maharaj saying such things. I also heard from another devotee that there is a famous sadhu in India who practices miracles. Apparently Guru Maharaj told him that आप ये चमत्कार वमत्कार छोड़ दो, भक्तों को devotion दो या भक्ति दो. So I don't know how much of it is true, but this I heard from others. My personal experience has been that his meticulous attention to detail respect them immensely, and he would start with something. He would invariably read up about that person or the company and know everything. He would be very thoroughly prepared. I don't know whether he reads up or because of his own spiritual potency, but he would know things, and he would know as much or perhaps more about the industry of that person than that person himself when he would come. And because of his international exposure, Guru Maharaj would be able to speak so much about various facets of the stream in which that person would be coming from. So, attention to detail, again, very, very personal in dealings. Also not unnecessarily dragging the conversation. I remember one last thing. We went to our senior advocate in the Supreme Court. It was so sweet that we gifted him a Gita, and Guru Maharaj said, you read one shloka a day, every day. Okay, I'll try, he said. So no, 2 shlokas. So he started saying, that's being pushy, he was saying. So Guru Maharaj he would not give up a chance to preach also at the same time. But I understand that he has already given Sukriti to that person. So that's essentially the few things. There are many more. So also Guru Maharaj was very particular that if किसी senior से हम मिलते हैं, so then he would ensure that it is communicated appropriately through all the Iskcon relevant channels, dandavas.com, Iskcon groups, etc., that people would know that such and such person visited Delhi. So the Governor General of Australia had visited, and he gave a certain medal to Guru Maharaj also. So that event, after just as it was over, Guru Maharaj told me, Guru Maharaj told Bhaktisiddhanta Maharaj, who was also there, Bhaktisiddhanta Maharaj of Iskcon, from Australia. He's from US, but he used to preach in Australia also. So he made us quickly do a write-up and send it across to all these places. So he was the quintessential communications man. Prepare very well for the meeting, be on time, be well dressed, take excellent gifts, speak as much about the industry or perhaps more than the other person himself. Speak the truth, be sweet and straightforward, and ensure that there is adequate follow-up. You would ensure that the card is given to somebody. As you would tell me, just take his card and follow up with him. And then he would check with me later, have you spoken with that person? And of course, I would want to ensure that the communication about this person's visit is also properly made. So in a nutshell, that is the way he used to deal with the big people.
Really, sometimes it is observed when people deal with big people, they neglect the general people. But we have seen Guru Maharaj has been available for everyone, everywhere. So, some instances where you can recall Guru Maharaj wasn't very fit, let's say medically, he was tired, but still he was giving his darshans or talking to people. If some memories of this you could recall.
Well, the last 2 years is mostly that, because he was never completely well. He would stretch himself so much, we had to stop him from meeting people many times. So many instances of, there's not one or two. I particularly remember when I used to come long back in 2003 and 4. I was already initiated. I would come from Nagpur to meet him. Once I came to meet him, he said, come back later, but I forgot. Then I went back later to him and he said, I told you 8 o'clock, you're coming so late. I said, I'm so sorry, Guru Maharaj, I'll go back, maybe I'll write to you, Guru Maharaj, I'll call you later, Guru Maharaj. So no, you stay. So it starts with me. I can see that experience personally with me, and he was already so tired. So many cases of Rishi Kumar, I'm tired, can we meet later? Or can I see you later? And then, no, I remember one set of people coming and saying, we came darshan. He says, probably from Russia or something. So, no darshan today. Guru Maharaj, it was so sweet. Guru Maharaj himself is saying darshan. No darshan today. And he spoke with them for 15 minutes saying no darshan. So, this is when he was busy, when he was sick, it was invariably happening. Till the last 2 years, 1.5 years or so, he was always meeting everyone. It was a nightmare to be his immediate secretaries. I can imagine what they've gone through. The last 1.5 years he has been more compliant to doctor's instructions. It was a little easier for us. He would say that I want to take rest, or I'm feeling tired, and so on and so forth. But in the past it was never like that. He would keep stretching late into the night sometimes, keep missing meals. I can't immediately remember any other instance about his sickness and him, but there have been several such cases. If I remember something, I'll tell you later. Yeah.
As you mentioned, he used to skip meals. Any memories of Guru Maharaj talking what he likes to eat, or any specific?
I remember one thing. The devotees would come from South India or from US or Singapore. Many of them are South Indians. Many of Guru Maharaj disciples are South Indians. They're from Chennai or Singapore or US also. Some of them are South Indians. So they would come and cook for him. They would make South Indian. So once when they made, Guru Maharaj send the prasadam to me saying, Rishi Kumar ko bejo, Madrasi hai. So, and invariably Guru Maharaj would send South Indian. Whenever anybody would cook for him, he would send to me. And I remember him saying that idli has become a national dish now, he said. So he used to sometimes he used to take idli, he used to take, later on he used to take, I think it is, I forgot whether it is quinoa or one of those non-grain things he used to say, buckwheat or quinoa. He used to take that a bit. He used to like a lot of bread items, bread kind of things he used to like. He used to hardly eat sweet and stuff like that, very less, not much. He would invariably say that this is so much food, this is so much food. So when we see Guru Maharaj's Samadhi with all those offerings today, I can visualize Guru Maharaj saying, this is so much, I can't eat it. But yes, these are some of the things. I was told that he also likes some little bit of Gujarati stuff. I don't know, those patras and khakras and all those things. I'm not very clear about what they're called. Those he used to definitely like idli. He used to take these non-grain things. He used to eat sometimes bread things also. And he used to eat salads, green salads. He used to eat those. I've seen him eat those when I'm sitting next to him. But there are many other items because unfortunately when he would honor prasadam, I would be disturbing him with some work many times. So I would not be so, because problem is if I look at his plate, he will immediately take it and give me. So these are some of the things I definitely know he likes. There might be many other things which mothers will know better because they cook sometimes for him.
Prabhu, as we know that Guru Maharaj wanted you to take sannyas. So any instructions Guru Maharaj gave you as you entered into your Vanprastha ashram, or as he wanted you to follow in your sannyas ashram?
One of the first instructions he gave me, first thing he told me was, first he said that Mohan Rupa should apply for sannyas. And he said that if it will sail through, he said. People immediately asked, Mohan Rupa is such an exalted devotee. Then he said, you should also take sannyas. He was lying down on his bed when he told me this. You should also take sannyas. So I wasn't very sure I heard him correctly. Because kahan Bhojaraj, kahan Ganguteli. So then he said, you want to take sannyas? So he knows that maybe I had some kida inside. I always wanted sannyas. I had this kida. So he said, you want to take sannyas? So I said, I have a desire. If you think I'm qualified, then I will apply. So Guru Maharaj said, no, I have no objection, which means it is very clear Guru Maharaj is asking me to take sannyas. If I want to take sannyas, it is my desire, it is not just his desire. But later on I will go around saying Guru Maharaj wants me to take sannyas, Guru Maharaj wants to take sannyas. It's not just that. And having said that, a couple of times I checked with him about the process and what things are going, and Guru Maharaj called me separately and he said, I think you should not be so attached to taking sannyas. So I got the shock of my life. So he said, Guru Maharaj, should I retain the desire or should I not retain? No, you keep the desire, but just don't get too attached to it. So imagine sannyas itself means detachment. And he's saying, don't be attached to the detachment. So that's a very, very critical instruction from him for me, which means I am very clear that if I get sannyas as a matter of due course for my services, which is fine. But it is not the most, in fact, Guru Maharaj told me, sannyas is not the only thing in the world. That also he told me. So, also on the 40th anniversary of his sannyas, we cut a cake in his room. So then I got as usual emotional and I told Guru Maharaj, Guru Maharaj, thank you very much for taking sannyas to save us. So Guru Maharaj, without batting an eyelid, said, I didn't take sannyas to save anyone. I took sannyas to save myself. So that was another instruction for me, that if I have to take sannyas, it is to save myself also. And I have to ensure that I take this very, very seriously. He told me that sannyas is for preaching, but at the same time, there were some views in the sannyas circles that I should cut down on other services, managerial and legal services, to focus more on sannyas. So Guru Maharaj, I told him that, Guru Maharaj, I cannot be going to court and other things. So Guru Maharaj very innocently asked, so then who will go? And Guru Maharaj once told me, so I think it's all bogus. You should serve where it is needful.
Yes.
So sannyas does not mean only preaching, but sannyas means whatever service that is required for the society that we have to do. So these are some of the standout instructions that he gave me. There are many more, but these are some things that I can speak generically for everyone.
Prabhuji, as you were there when Guru Maharaj was writing his will, and as it is mentioned, ki the will which Guru Maharaj has made is like a sample for future generations to come. It is a masterpiece. So, Prabhuji, if you can connect, what was the mood of Guru Maharaj when he was writing that will, and it is not just once he has made this will, he made 2-3 times. So what was the whole
The
process?
first will Guru Maharaj made was in the year 1995. That I was not in Iskcon at that point of time. At that time he was having his, I think he had his first heart condition. So at that time he wrote up a few things on a piece of paper. Then in COVID, during the first wave, when he got really sick, he had to get admitted. He asked me to write up something. So I wrote up something, he signed it. Then again, last year when Guru Maharaj was admitted to the hospital for the angioplasty and became very serious, he was in Fortis. So at that time he wanted me to show him that. He said, can you get me a copy of that will? He just said, so I can you read it out. So I read it out. So he said, I think it's well written. He said, he's the one who told, he's the one who dictated it. I typed it up and added a few points, got it checked with the lawyers, kept it ready. But then it was always bothering me because people from the GBC had been asking me for succession planning also, in terms of, it was a mandate on the GBC's part that all its senior members would write on their will. So they asked me to speak with my spiritual master. Once I was on the way to the airport along with Guru Maharaj, and Guru Maharaj told me, I would like you to write up my will much before. And it was very embarrassing for me. No disciple would want to do this. But then again, this happened when they said, so this time I had to ask Guru Maharaj. I said, Guru Maharaj, it's important that we write this will. So the GBC is repeatedly asking, many members are asking me about, not all GBC, some senior devotees also, succession planning for the zone, direction for the disciples, etc. And Guru Maharaj is a Pakka Iskcon man, Pakka Prabhupada man. So he said, why don't you write up something? So then I drafted the will. Some part of it was completely based on what Guru Maharaj dictated. I just polished up the lamp. Guru Maharaj used to always tell me, you would tell me something and I wanted to just polish it up. So this is something that I keep remembering. So he wanted me to polish it up. So I got the draft vetted by the lawyers. Most of the points were dictated personally by Guru Maharaj. I wrote up some other points which are housekeeping kind of points. Those I wrote up. And I checked it with the lawyers, got it drafted. So his commitment to the will was primarily to ensure that the GBC's mandate is met. And apart from that, the fact that his zone, he used to always maintain that his zone is, his zone is well managed by the effort of many of these devotees. So many devotees are working hard. So he was very clear that there's not going to be any major issue. And there has been no major issue by his blessings. So he wrote this up, and then we called up the sub-registrar through the contact of one devotee. So she came personally. She recorded his testimony, because in the will, before you sign and register it, so they asked, do you know this person? About me, they asked. He said, yes, I know. How long do you know him? So I know him for 20 odd years. How do you know him? He's my disciple, whatever. Similarly, Dashavtar Prabhu. And so they recorded Guru Maharaj's testimony also for the sake of the government records. So, and it got registered in Guru Maharaj's room itself in November 2023. It's not something that happened like that. Guru Maharaj had it all planned properly. It was, everything that he had to say was there in this. Some of it I drafted, some of it I checked with a lawyer, but most of it was Guru Maharaj's dictation. And some of it is from the GBC's own template for senior Vaishnavas' wills. Guru Maharaj's mood was very clear that he had to comply with GBC instructions, because he would check with me again after, say, have you spoken to Devakinandan? Devakinandan Prabhu is the Iskcon GBC council, senior devotee from Singapore. So he said, have you spoken with him? He just said, have you checked with him? He asked me to send it to him. So I sent it to him. He said, have you checked with him whether it is okay? So he confirmed, Devakinandan Prabhu confirmed it is very good direction, it's fine. Then we got it registered. And then Devakinandan Prabhu himself told me that Maharaj has set such a great precedent for everyone else to follow. And after Guru Maharaj left, after I had read out the will, I had the teams of two senior sannyasis of Iskcon called me up and check with me details about the will, how to add it. I even sent the will copy to somebody, although everybody had the copy, but as a matter of. So this is the whole thing. It was personally, completely driven by him. His mood was Pakka Prabhupada man, Iskcon man, GBC man. He did it because GBC wanted him to get it done, and he did it on time. Did it ahead of time.
It would have been very difficult for you to
It was
deal with this kind of service.
it's hellish. It's the last thing any disciple should do. But I realized that it was important for him, and I realized such a pakka personality, he would never leave any open loops. So to conclude his story of perfection, it was important that his will was also written, and he himself planned it out, and I just had to be there.
As we're recording this podcast in month of August, and his Vyas Puja is coming, and 80th Vyas Puja. So any memories you have? We have seen Guru Maharaj when he was sitting on Vyasasana and he is listening his glorification, but at the same time he is very aloof to what all is happening. So any incidents you remember what Guru Maharaj used to say during or before his Vyas Puja, how the things should be done, how it should be managed?
Guru Maharaj was very unhappy if his godbrothers would come. He had his godbrother Krishna Gopal Prabhu, the first devotee in Delhi, first Prabhupada disciple in Delhi. So when he came for Guru Maharaj's Vyasa Puja once in front of me, I remember him saying, Krishna Gopal ji, aap kyun aaye? Aapne kyun kasht kiya? He was very embarrassed. Or Sridham Prabhu, he would be very embarrassed with his godbrothers that used to come. Then another thing he used to do was that he always wanted his disciples to be there for the Vyasa Puja. Because then he knew that it was for their purification that they are celebrating Vyasa Puja. There was one temple president of one of the temples in India. He had some kind of blow hot, blow cold relationship with Guru. Affectionate and respectful, but you never know what was the level of faith. So Guru Maharaj personally told me to call up that person and ensure that he would come for Vyasa Puja. Check with that person if he's coming. So Guru Maharaj knew that it was important for building the faith of the disciple that this Vyasa Puja celebrations happen. And in all Vyasa Puja celebrations, if you listen to his lectures, there were a few things that he would talk about. Would be to chant attentively, to read Prabhupada books, to preach, to connect to the local temple, to work in cooperation. And he would want all his devotees to come. So this year also we are celebrating. Unfortunately, for the very first time, Guru Maharaj will not be physically present in any parts of the planet that we can see. But this year also in Delhi we are doing it in a big way. So we are inviting everybody. Everybody should come. Just like before, nothing has changed. Only the Guru Maharaj has more time for us now. If they are in Vrindavan, you don't need to take secretary's appointments. Guru Maharaj is always available. You can go sit with him, chant, reveal your heart. But yes, go for disappearance, stay to Vrindavan, but for Vyasa Puja, come to Iskcon Delhi. That is where he has always been. Yeah.
Prabhuji, what was your last meeting with Guru Maharaj?
Let's keep it. But I can say this much, that even then in the ICU, he asked the status of one of the services that I was supposed to do. He asked me what's happening on that committee.
In ICU?
He asked me. Then I was supposed to leave on the 3rd of May after the bureau meetings. So he said, I said, I'm going in the evening, Guru Maharaj. So he said, you go ahead, you carry on with your normal services. Unfortunately, I did not go. So, one of the last things I remember him telling me was, I'm feeling sleepy. Because I was sitting next to him, I was trying to give him some water and all that, and he wasn't very happy with my service. He really, I'm not good at personal service. He wanted Vishwambar Gaurang Prabhu to come. He said, where is Vishwambar? You can call him. And then he must have thought that I must have felt bad or something. He said, I'm feeling sleepy. So that I remember. And then this I remember. Rest of it is a blur. I never wanted to be with my father and mother alone in ambulance because I was very attached to my father. I shared this in the group with Vrindavan. But invariably, as Providence would be, they put me in the car alone. And it was difficult. I was very attached to my father. I lost my father in 2008. I lost my mother in 2015. But I became an orphan in 2024. And I had to come back in the ambulance with my Guru Maharaj. From Dehradun to Delhi and from Delhi to Vrindavan. I don't suppose it's a great privilege. If I prayed to the deities on the 5th of May when the doctors urgently called Krishna Priya Prabhu, and Lokanath Maharaj also went in a huff with him. On his own he went. So I prayed to the deities that my life is useless. If you want, take me and restore him. But if you're surrendered, then Krishna will listen to your prayers, because I'm not a very surrendered devotee. Krishna didn't pay heed to my prayers. So I'm still around, useless as ever, talking to you about my Guru Maharaj, now that he has entered his pastimes. So I don't want to talk more. But he's around. He's in Vrindavan. Go to him, sit with him, chant with him, listen to him. And someday, if we are all qualified, we can hear him.
So, Prabhuji, having spent last 23 years so closely with Guru Maharaj, it has been a great privilege for you. So, Prabhuji, what are the 3 takeaways from his life which you would like to share with everyone so that they can also follow the footsteps of Guru Maharaj?
Avyarthagalatam, Samutkantha, and Jiverdaya. He would not waste a single moment. Ever since I've known him, he has never wasted a single moment of his life, except when we waste his time. He would always use it in Krishna service. Right from the morning, he would be tossing and turning in bed to get up for Mangalarati. From 2:30 he would start getting up because he was in such a anxiety such eagerness to worship the deities. And you have seen the videos of him worshipping the deities in his sleep also. So, Avyartha Kalatam, 24 hours from there till whole day, barely sleeping, whole life he slept only hardly 4 hours, 4.5 hours, and that is also part of the reason his health deteriorated. But his service commitment was immense, and he said that I want to die, like Prabhupada said, like a soldier on the battlefield. He personally told me that, and he did. So that is his Avyartha Kalatam. The second thing is I said Samutkantha, which is that he used to purchase anxiety for Krishna, just like Mother Yashoda purchased anxiety for Krishna and became his mother. Guru Maharaj would take ownership for Krishna's service and Prabhupada's movement. I gave you several examples. So taking ownership for the movement for Srila Prabhupada and for Krishna and for devotees across. So this is the second take home from Guru Maharaj's life that you can take. And the third thing is the value of relationships, his sweetness, which comes out of his Jivar Daya, extreme compassion to everybody. Every single person who would come in touch with him, very seldom would he go back unsatisfied or dissatisfied. He would, out of his compassion, he would give time to everyone. He told us several times that somebody should be there to listen to all these people. And that is his standout quality. If there is a new bhakta who's sulking someplace in the Parikrama Marg, he would call him, come to my room. He would call him to the room and meet. A senior devotee comes in the middle of another meeting, he would say, can I meet you later? And he will meet that senior devotee first. So, Sakali Saman Karite Shakati. Prabhupada, I don't know whether he prayed or not, Prabhupada has definitely given that ability to him. Sakali Saman Karite Shakati. So we have to pray to him for these qualities, that we should be respectful and loving in our dealings with everyone. We should take ownership for all these services and projects proactively and otherwise in Krishna's service. And the third thing is seeing it through to conclusion and keeping ourselves completely engaged for the whole day in Krishna's service. That apart, he has very clearly said that all of us should completely remain in Iskcon and take shelter of senior Vaishnavas. We should remain accountable to Krishna consciousness, in Krishna consciousness. And Guru Maharaj was accountable. On the way he would be going someplace, he will tell 10 people, I am going to Faridabad, I am going to Faridabad. Some bacha there, he would tell him also. So, this is why. Hare Krishna. Srila Gopal Krishna Goswami Maharaj.
Thank you so much, Prabhuji, for your valuable time and sharing your some incidents with Guru Maharaj. We really pray to Guru Maharaj and Shri Radha Parthasarathi, jaise Guru Maharaj chahte the. May you get into your next ashram soon. And we also request your blessings for all of us, that as you are following Guru Maharaj so sincerely, we all may also try to serve Guru Maharaj very sincerely.
I pray that all the nice things you said about me come true. Thank you. Hare Krishna.
His Holiness Gopal Krishna Goswami Maharaj ki jai. Srila Prabhupada ki jai.